mistake I made last time. Okay, so I'm really excited because when I asked Kimberlee to host this with me, I was like, can we do this thing together? I wanted to do it for both like members and non-members because I'm gonna go a little bit into my story later on. And my story, I wasn't using the product longer than I really was doing the business part of it. So I wanted to make sure that this call can be open to people that I have been communicating with about the business or have seen kind of the business like through a different perspective, maybe on social media, or maybe I just approached you and was like, hey, you should jump on this call, and you came, and that's really cool too. So we wanted to make this a little bit different of not really going through the ins and outs of the business, but just kind of sharing our story and our whys and just giving you like a little peek of what this business can be for you, or just give you some ideas and what it's done for us and how it's not only changed our life, but our relationships with friends that we've already had, with new friends, with strangers, and also like the relationships that we cultivated within our teams, which for me was a huge why, and it's a huge reason why I'm here. And I even like met some of you guys on social media, which was really fun. I met Kimberlee on social media, and you'll hear like through our stories, even though we are kind of similar in a lot of ways, we really are different, and we have different whys and different stories, and that's really cool too. So thanks for being here, and I'm just really thankful that you decided to come on this chat. So Kimberlee's gonna go first and just kind of share, just give you a little bit about herself and share how she got started with the business.
I mute myself. Yay, hi friends. Okay, so I am Kimberlee, for those of you who don't know me. I'm going to give you just a little quick intro about kind of just the little details that we all like to know, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about my story in getting started with Young Living. So I am married to Brian. We've been married almost 11 years. We have 4 little kiddos, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, and 2 3-year-olds, which is super fun right now. They are kicking my booty with being in the thick of the toddler stuff. We live in North Carolina on the coast, so we just love beaching it and just being on the water. We got really involved with foster care, and that's how our 2 youngest came to us. We had fostered for several years, had some placements come and go, and then our last 2 placements, we got really close back to back, both babies, and they both their cases ended up heading towards adoption, and we've since adopted them. So yeah, we've just, I think that's actually how Jen and I connected, was just kind of through that like foster adopt community on Instagram, which was super fun. So if you know anything about personality types, I'm an Enneagram 4. That tells you a lot about me. If you know the color personalities, I'm a yellow personality type. And I, I'm a big feeler, people person. I want to give you a little bit of a background about me too, because I think, especially when we hear of people that are like, look at this, X, Y, and Z success, we want to like hear like their qualifications on how they got there. And I will be disappointing you to tell you that I have 0 qualifications. I did not even graduate high school, so I don't have a high school education. I grew up just very isolated in a really in a community of people that really stunted growth rather than help people to thrive and dream. It was a very damaging place to kind of grow up in. And so I came into, I ended up kind of escaping, leaving all community that I had, and ended up just a really young mother, thankfully married to Brian, who just really was my saving grace through all of that. But I found myself just suddenly really like lost in motherhood. I was a young mom. I was a military wife, just kind of stuck in this town, and I didn't have any dreams or goals. I didn't have an education. I didn't know where I was going. I thought that my only calling was to be a mother, but if I was being honest, motherhood was not, I love my kids, but motherhood wasn't the thing that was really making my heart sing. even though there's joys in it, it's still I just felt so like, where am I in all of this? And the hope of even having, I didn't necessarily want a career path, but I just wanted something to call my own. And I didn't even know what it could be. So in the meantime, I was literally scrubbing urinals. I was being paid just a couple $100 a month to clean our church building, listening to podcasts, super happy, just bopping around every week, scrubbing this building. And it was like my thing, but I don't know, it wasn't really going to get me anywhere. Yeah, I don't know. I just felt kind of lost. So I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'd started using oils, when we had begun foster care. I grew up in like a kind of like and they weren't like super oily, but more crunchy. My mom was very all natural. And so I'm familiar with oils. I was familiar with the clean living lifestyle. But when I like left all of that, I was like, I just want to embrace all the toxins. So give me all the plastics and the chemicals and all the things. I just wanted nothing to do with that. But then I started having kids and I was like, shoot, like, what am I bringing into my home? What am I bringing on to my kids? And so I really started evaluating, but I got lost in like DIY recipes and everything pointed back to essential oils. And I didn't even know what the heck they were. And it just started me down this train of trying to live a more natural lifestyle, but also being overwhelmed because you hear like, this company has this hidden something in it. And guess what? Their label looks green and clean, but it's not. And so I just got so overwhelmed. I was introduced to Young Living also through Instagram. Instagram is just such a fun connecting place. I ended up grabbing my starter kit, but wanted nothing to do with the business. I think I was even disappointed that Young Living was a multi-level marketing company. I didn't have any bad experiences, except watching my mom really fail at one, which I'm going to get into a little bit later. But I don't know. You just hear things and you just think it's for desperate people. There's no money in it. I had like this kind of pity kind of attitude towards it. And I was happy to support my friend that I bought the starter kit from, but I really wanted nothing to do with the business. But one of my in-person besties, she began her business on the same team that I was a part of. And I just watched her begin to share just so beautifully, so organically. She has twin boys the same age as my two little practically twins. And so we were just hanging out. We're both tired moms. You know, she's nursing two babies. I'm bottle feeding two babies. We're just exhausted. And yet she had this thing that was bringing her so much life and that she was doing and she was sharing so beautifully at. And I was over her house and I just was asking her like, hey, how's that little oil side gig thing you're doing? And she was honest with me about how it had really just changed their family. And I was starting to see it. And so it just really, I think, shifted my perspective that it didn't have to be this heebie-jeebie, skeezy, weird thing. She never tried to sell to me. She was building this incredible community full of just beautiful, beautiful people who were also pursuing clean living. And I just started to fall in love just watching it unfold. And I squeaked out a scared little yes one day. I just said, I think I could actually do that. Like watching you do it makes me feel like I could actually do it too. And it just set off like a chain reaction. And before I knew it, I had just dived in and I was just having the time of my life. So when I started, my why looked one way and it kind of changed a little bit. So at first, I really wanted to be successful at something. I wanted something to do for myself. And like I had said, I'd never had that. So it seemed very appealing to me. The money wasn't a super big driver for me. We were fine living on my husband's income and me having that tiny little cleaning job that I was, fine to do. But I kind of challenged myself. I was like, if I could bring in, so I was getting like $600 a month from this like cleaning job. I was like, I could replace that like I will have it made. And I looked at the income disclosure statement. And if you haven't seen it, then you need to see it. We'll put the link here in the comments at some point. I saw that, and I saw the different pay at different ranks, and I started to dream. I started to think like, okay, I could replace this little cleaning income and get my oils paid for, or I could dream a little bit bigger. Like, what would that actually look like for me? And then one day I realized, it like hit me, and I'm gonna again get into this a little bit later. I realized that the way the business structure is, and the way that most multi-level marketing jobs are, is it's a residual income. It's a willable income. And so I could do a whole lot of work in the beginning and then be paid for the rest of my life. If something happened to me, if something happened to my husband, the people that I was entrusting my kids to would also get my income. And that was incredible to me. I just, all of a sudden, I think my why got really big. I started thinking about my kids and our future. And it's one of the reasons we called it tonight, Calling All the Dreamers. I think Jen, she'll share her story. Part of it for me was it just gave me opportunity to dream. I'd never been able to dream before. I found myself completely unworthy, uneducated, super behind. Nothing was in my future except popping out babies. And I just started to dream again. And dreaming for my kids' future, I don't want to hand them the world, but I also don't want to make finance is a huge hurdle for them. I want them to be hard workers, but I also want to be able to set them up for success as well. And then I just started to dream. So that was like my dreams for our family. And then I started dreaming bigger about what could happen, money in the hands of good people. We need money to fund things. And so I think that sometimes we can like have this humble posture, like, oh, I don't want to be that rich, or blah, 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 whatever. And it is a great responsibility, but I think I started to realize, especially in the foster adopt community and just having a heart to serve other people, I just realized that like I could be a world changer. My time is much more limited, but if I can expand my income, that I can't get a job that multiplies time, but I can spend my time and multiply our money and do a lot of good. And so that just became like a big thing. Brian and I have always tried to be very generous people, and the thought of becoming like radically generous just really shook me. So now my why, and then I'll wrap up and pass it back to Jen, and then you'll get to hear from me again in a little bit. But yeah, so then a couple things I'm going to just say. I was really scared when I started. When I say I said a scared yes, I was super scared. I didn't want to sound salesy. I didn't want to lose friends. I was afraid of failing. I was also like nervous, like what if it becomes really successful? Like what then? Like even big success can be scary. So there was a lot of fear going into it. But we worked really hard. I began nearly 3 years ago. Jen put the income disclosure statement in the comments. Our family is now at the rank of platinum, which is world changing for us. And I think a game changer, world changer rank looks different for different people. At this point, my husband doesn't need to work. He chooses to work. I will never convince him not to work. He loves what he does and he's amazing. But if we wanted to, we could live off of my sole income, and that's amazing. And to know, it's in my will, it's for my kids. So even like when COVID hit, it was just so crazy that Brian and I just started writing down names of people and just started writing checks to people who we knew had lost their jobs or had income slashed. And absolutely not saying that as like a pat on the back, but just as like a encouragement that you can be at a place where that is possible. And then I think that as I've gone along, my why has changed, because I've seen that if the people who were before me didn't say yes, I wouldn't be here. And if I didn't say yes, Jen and the rest of my beautiful team wouldn't be here either. And to see lives just, it's like a beautiful domino effect of lives being changed. And so now I'm dreaming bigger for my team. And that has been like just a really beautiful thing in this as well. So Jen.
Thanks for sharing. I feel like so much of it I can like connect to your story, and then other things I'm like, oh, I actually just started feeling those things, and it's been really cool to like connect. And I love what you said about not, you know, the one thing you don't want to do when you hear like network marketing is actually like reaching out to your friends, or you know, you don't want to be salesy and all the things. And I actually have a friend on here now that I'm like, hey, like, even if you say no, like just come on here and just like make me feel better. And she was like, okay, I have to turn my camera off because it's bedtime. Like, that's fine. But you always have that fear. But I have done that before to two very good friends of mine. And I got to see them reach their goals too. And we get to do this together. It's not like I'm randomly saying to everyone, come do this with me. But, you know, I do feel like when I ask you, I genuinely care about you as a person. And I actually did meet, you know, a beautiful girl in the street, and we formed a really cool relationship, and she's like hopped on the call, and it was just really fun. So with that being said, I feel like, yeah, everyone's story is a little different, but I feel like our heart is in the right place. And I love what Kimberlee said about the whole, like, with your income, like, you know, your mind starts to imagine things, but I feel like when you put money in it's okay to dream big. And I think sometimes as women, especially when you're having the children or you're working the job, or, you know, we're afraid to think about those things, but we can actually do both. And having the time freedom to do both is just really incredible. So I'm going to back up a little bit and share a little bit about myself and how I got to where I am today. So my name is Jen, and I'm married to Darren, who's actually on this call. I don't know if he's listening, but if you are, hey, boo. It's really fun because he gets to go to work, and I can actually do this too. And I have all the kids at home, and he had to go into work last minute, and I had this call scheduled, and it was just really fun because I was able to put my kids to bed. And when I say fun, take that lightly. It was a little chaotic, but and I threw lipstick on quick, and I was able to get downstairs and be here. And I think like seeing people too, like with their kids and shutting their camera off so they can go outside and play with their kids, and saying, hey, like I can't come right now, but can you send me the link? I think for like that alone just goes to show you the time freedom that we have of being able to be with our kiddos and have date nights with our husbands. I know like Kristen's multitasking right now because she's working, and I just feel like for me is just incredible. So I have 3 boys. I have Hudson and Carson, and they are both almost 5. They'll be 5 in September, and so they're 20 days apart. And then I have baby Graham, who he's 8 months he'll be 8 months on the 1st. I can't keep track. So I'm an all-boy mom, and Darren and I have been married for 7 years this year, and we have brought 3 kids into our family, both through adoption. Hold on, my friend's coming back. The bouncer. Sorry, let me mute her. Anyway, through adoption and biologically as well. And so that is part of my why and part of the reason why I actually started this business. For me, that has really moved me into the direction where I'm at now. So when I first got into clean living, Darren and I were married, and I was pregnant with my first son, Hudson. And I started like scanning things to put on my registry. And I read this article about how mainstream products that you see at Target or that you see at Walmart are actually really toxic, and they're rated really high on an app called Think Dirty. And there's a bunch of different apps that if you're interested, I can send you, or we can put them in the comments. But I started going around and like scanning those products as I was scanning things for my registry. And I really was taken back about the amount of toxins that were in those products. And so I was like, okay, I'm bringing this little boy into my world. I never cared before, but I'm going to start making all my own products. So I started DIYing everything, his diaper cream, his lotion, all the things. At this point, my husband was playing professional baseball, and we were moving every few months. And I was like the wacko that was packing up all my, like everything to like make all my own products. because for the first time in my life, all I wanted to do was be a mom. Like from when Darren and I got married, I was like, I'm staying home with our babies. And he was like, whoa, okay. And I was like, I want to have all the kids. Like my purpose was to be a mom. I wanted to be a mom. I didn't care about my job. I was a teacher at the time. I was ready to get rid of everything and I just wanted to be a mom. And I thought that like, okay, I'm going to feel such fulfillment in I don't want to say just being a mom, but in being a mom. And in that moment, I realized that I cared about this baby that was inside me so much that I started like becoming more aware and making all these products and packing up all this stuff. And then when he was born, you know, of course I was making all my own baby food and I was doing all the things. And it wasn't until we decided to bring another child into our family, and that was through adoption, and that I knew that my life might have to look a little bit different. And so I went to school to be a teacher, and Darren and my husband and I actually met in college, and he was playing baseball, and he didn't graduate college because he got drafted. And I was like, I'm going to be a teacher and be like the mom. And that was just what we thought. Like he was going to play baseball and I would travel and stay with him in the summers. And we had this whole story lined up for us. And I remember he was playing in Venezuela and I went to go visit him and I gave him like a little card. And at that moment I was like, hey, I know this was right before I got pregnant. So sorry, back up. But I was like, I know that you're like playing baseball and doing your thing and I'm teaching, but like, I feel like God is like calling me to just drop all that and come travel with you. And so I gave up my job and we were in Venezuela and living the dream. And then we had Hudson and I was like packing all the products up and making all the products and doing all the things. And then when he actually decided to retire from baseball, we weren't sure what we were going to do. We didn't have a big league paycheck, but we knew God was calling us to a different direction. So at that time, Darren did get an offer to become a firefighter in a place that we never even went to go visit, but we felt led to that area. So we ended up moving to Virginia, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to go back to teaching because we can't afford for somebody to be home with our kid. And I had like this passion to be a mom. So I was like, I'm going to work all the side jobs. And I'm really good at side jobs. I'm very good at short-term relationships. I do not like to get deep with people. I'm very surface level. And so through this journey, not only did like different things change, but I also learned how to cultivate and maintain healthy relationships. And for me, that's really big. It's a huge part of my journey. And so anyway, I was working side jobs. I was nannying. So I was able to be home with my son and making money while I was home. So I was nannying like 2-3 kids at a time in our small little apartment. And then when Darren came home, I was mentoring adults with special needs, basically any hour of the night. And then at night I would go and then I would also clean homes. And I actually liked it too. Like Kimberlee, I put my podcast on or my music, and it was awesome. And so I remember just like worshiping Jesus in that time in my podcast, just being like, okay, God, like I really like weirdly enough, like these bathrooms are cool, but what is my story? And it was very specific that we were going to adopt. And so I came home and Darren was in the academy. We still didn't really have that much money. We were in this apartment and I was like, God's calling us to adopt. And I'm not exactly sure, but like I have all these side jobs and I'm really stoked about it. And then we had $40,000 that we needed to raise for the adoption. With that being said, I was like, okay, I love clean living. And just a few months before that, I had somebody approach me to share about essential oils in a different company. But I didn't feel like the door was opening and I was being guided there. And so I kind of just prayed about it for a while. And I met Kimberlee on social media. I just was stalking her because at this point, adoption was really heavy on my heart. And when you're called to do something or you feel like really passionate about something, I know for me, if I say yes to something, I'm going to give it like my entire heart. And I wasn't ready to step into clean living yet, but I was ready to say yes to adoption. And so Darren and I knew adoption was going to be part of our story long before we actually said yes to it. And then I saw Kimberlee and I was like, okay, like I don't want to say this in a crazy way, but I was actually talking to Monica about it. And Monica was like, Kimberlee went live in one of our groups, and she was like, the way that Kimberlee was with her family, multitasking, that reminds me of you. And I feel like that's why you guys bond really well. And in that moment, I was like, yes, like, and that's why I was so attracted to her, like on social media, because she actually had a story highlight that was like, I'm not perfect, and was like showing French fries in her car or something. And I was like, I can do that too. And so I decided, I told Darren like, hey, I'm going to babysit and I'm going to mentor and I'm going to do all the things and I'm going to clean and I'm going to make meals for people and I'm also going to sell oils because I'm really good at side jobs. And he was like, that's great, Jen. So I decided to do all the things, and we knew that we were adopting Carson. So I have a son, Carson, he's adopted, and he has special needs. He has medical needs. He has a very, very severe congenital heart defect. So we knew that I was going to be in the hospital with him. We knew that his care would be lifelong. And we knew that, you know, he had a lot of trauma in his background. And I remember them calling and saying, hey, Jen, like, we just want to get a verbal agreement over the phone, like that you actually really want to adopt this child. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, we already signed the paperwork. And they were like, but you know, he has a short lifespan and he's really sick, right? And like, you're going to have to lay down your life for this child. And I was like, yeah, like the most nervous yes that I've ever given. And that day was like, okay. And I bought my starter kit and I was like, I'm doing the business and I'm doing the business and I'm going to say yes. And once again, I'm going to put my whole heart into it. And so before my starter kit even arrived, I was like, okay, let's go. Like, let's do this. I was all in. I was like, I am going to do this. And throughout that time, I think it was like, and so I started sharing casually. And it was really beautiful. Like I started sharing, and we'll go into more like what it looks like when you do share and what it looks like to have your business. But I, like 10 days before we left to go adopt our son, we got a call, and that he also, on top of everything else, was diagnosed with autism. And so for me, I was like, I was really like, I was overwhelmed. And Darren was like, don't, this is our son. God provided, like, we're going to be okay. And at that time I was like, okay, like, I'm not going to be able to do all the things, all the side jobs that I had, because my child's going to require so much more care. And at that time I was like, I'm setting a goal and I'm going to run for this, and I'm not going to say no, and I'm just going to keep going, and I'm going to do it. And it has been the most beautiful thing that I've ever done in my life. There's so much self-growth. And I think what I didn't realize at that time is when I was saying yes to this business, I was not only saying yes to be home with my son when he was like banging his head on the wall, or be home with my son when I was going through all the trauma, or in the ICU with him, or doing all the things that nobody even knows that I do behind closed doors, trying to balance my other two children and hold my marriage up at the same time, and on my knees, like seeking Jesus. This business gave me an outlet to be able to step away, so Darren doesn't have to work all the overtime all the time, and I can take on some of the responsibility, not even financially, but emotionally. I'm able to step away from things and go do my own thing. Like today, I was able to go to Panera for an hour and a half and work and feel good about it, because I knew I was bringing an income in for my family. And so a goal that we had, my husband and I, was to hit the rank of silver. 2 months before I actually hit it. So this is the fourth month, I think. So it was 4 months ago that my team hit the rank of silver. And I remember, like, when Kimberlee was like, what's your goal? And you can click the income disclosure statement. I linked it. But my goal was to just make enough money where I didn't have to do the jobs that I liked, but I knew that I couldn't do anymore because my family required so much more. And so now I get to do this, and I get to ask other people to come along with me. And now my why is that I want to see that for other people, whether it's time freedom or emotional freedom or financial freedom. With my latest paycheck from Young Living, I was able to pay for my mortgage and also pay for like our new furniture set, which is like incredible. So regardless what you want to do with that money, like that's yours. But the cool part is that you're your own boss. And I think that that's one of the coolest things that I've learned, is that I get to say yes when I want to say yes, and say, I'm sorry, not right now, when I want to do that. And so it's been a blessing to run my business from my son's hospital bed. It was beautiful to run my business in China, from the park, anywhere you are, you can just pick up and you can go and you can be whatever the business looks like for you. So that's my story. Yeah. So it's been 2 years for me. This past July was 2 years running my business. I just had somebody text me that. So 2 years I've been running my business, and 2 years I've been using the product. So I wasn't a product lover before I started my business, but I love clean living, and I think that you can just pick up wherever. So that's it.
Yay, Jen. I love your story. I love it so much. You are such a gift to our team for sure. Sometimes I feel like Jen works circles around me. She is such a inspiration to all of us. And most of you on this call know her, and you guys all know that. Okay, Jen, do you want me to chat a little bit more about kind of the details about what makes Young Living kind of unique from some of the other network marketing, or kind of what it looks like that? Okay. So I actually I heard someone say that like network marketing isn't a perfect way, and it's not the only way, certainly, but it can be a better way. The business model is really brilliant, and I know that all of us probably, if you have been on the internet or if you've been human, you probably have some kind of preconceived notions and ideas about what network marketing looks like, or what you have to do, or whatever it is. And most of them, I think, can be really negative connotations. So I'm just gonna walk through a little bit about what the distinctives with Young Living are, and even just a little bit about an MLM kind of model. Like I said before, I think I thought that it was like the desperate people selling. And certainly I just want to say over and over again, all network marketing companies are not the same. And I actually think that it's kind of a bummer, because you wouldn't necessarily look at Walmart and say, wow, they're the same as Trader Joe's. Like, they're very different companies, but for some reason, the business model of network marketing sometimes can get so lumped together that you hear someone had a bad experience, someone got really burned out on one or lost a ton of money, and you assume that, another company is the same. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes of the structure of the company and the comp plan. And so even if for you don't end up doing the business with Young Living, but maybe you're even looking at another network marketing company, I would just encourage you to really do your research on the behind the scenes of what the structure and the comp plan looks like, because they're not all the same. But I think one of the things that's cool about it is that it gives companies the ability to give the money to the people. So so many companies are going to be spending so much money on actually putting up brick and mortar stores, on advertising, and we get to have the income from the companies. The companies are giving it back to us, the families, which is so beautiful. We own our own businesses, but we work with Young Living. And for Young Living specifically, they're a very generous company. They spend most of their money on their farms, which if you, Young Living is just amazing with the work that they put into the quality of their products and the quality of their farms. And they spend their money on their people. They're just, super generous. Again, look at the comp plan. And again, I just want to say, those are real numbers. And I think that it's easy to think, oh, just the people at the top, or just the people that got in at the beginning. And, you want to think that this couldn't be for you. But like I said before, I don't have a high school education. I just started this less than 3 years ago, and I've worked my little tushy off, and it hasn't been a get rich quick scheme, but it's been very rewarding, and it's just become something really beautiful. And I just also want to say too, because you can look at the comp plan and be like, I don't even want to be, XYZ. I just want to get my oils paid for. And I just want to say there's space for you for that. There are many people on my team that's what they want. And they just enjoy casually sharing. They get their oils paid for. They get maybe a little extra for, to save for a vacation a year, whatever it is, there's space for that. And there's space for you to go all the way. Believe it or not, there's actually someone underneath of me that has outranked me. So if you look at the income disclosure, I'm at platinum, she's at diamonds. And that is because she's working her business and has met certain requirements before I've met them, but that hasn't slowed her down, that I'm not ahead of her, and she is not, I can work at my pace. So the structure is really flexible. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. but I guess my point is there's space for everyone here, whatever your goals are. When I first started, I looked at gold, and I thought like, wow, that would be like goals, dream, like if I could get there. And just as I've gone on, like I shared earlier, this has enabled me to just dream bigger. And so I don't know actually how far I'm going to go. I really want to be led by the Lord. I want to run with my team, and we'll see. But I just have found my dreams to just become bigger. And I think that I would ask you guys too, like looking at that income disclosure statement, like, okay, let's just get really practical. Like what would be life-changing for your family? If that's what you feel like you would want to do, like what would support your family? What would change things for you? Even the rank of silver, which is a very doable rank. It's a rank that a lot of people start off and say, that's where I want to get. That's an extra over $2,000 a month. What would that do for your family? And then kind of go through the ranks above and say, okay, what would that do for my family? What would life look like with that? And just allow yourself to dream bigger. So just a little bit before I pass it back to Jen, a little bit about like some of the differences between Young Living. Sorry, I wrote down two different notes and they're contradicting each other. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. So a couple differences between a 9-to-5 job and the differences between like Young Living and maybe some other network marketing companies. Again, I just want to touch back. I just feel like I have to keep saying like the residual income piece is such a game changer from a 9-to-5 job. We work so many years, 9 to 5 at a desk, hoping to retire with, X amount. By then, the economy's changed. Our retirement plans have changed. Things just are not secure. But with residual income, I've walked through a miscarriage doing this business. My husband and I he's a pastor at our local church. We went on a sabbatical last year. And each time, because of the work that I put in with my team, our income continued to grow. Even while I was taking a step back, either because of grief or other commitments. And that wouldn't happen if it was a 9-to-5 job. I would have missed out on being paid. So I think that that's just something to really consider. That's really beautiful. And as far as like things that make Young Living different, and the things you want to look for, I know like we're all supposed to be like trying to talk you into selling Young Living, but I'm serious. Like it doesn't have to be Young Living. Obviously, we're inviting you to be a part of what's going on with us. But if you're looking at different jobs to do from home, one of the things that you want to look for is it a consumable product? So I love our Usborne books, Useborne books. I don't know ever how to say it. I love those books. I think that like it's amazing. I love that people are selling them. But I don't need to keep buying books every month. I don't need to keep buying leggings. There's so many things that while they're beautiful products, they're not consumables. And so I think that it's amazing. We have something for everyone. We're not just oils. It's clean living. There's men's product. There's baby product. There's nutritional supplements. There's just everything. And that's really important as you think about building a business and returning customers. So again, the structure is really different. I said before, like it's helpful to kind of look at how companies are not all the same. So you may have heard a friend who got stuck with boxes of Mary Kay in their closet that expired and they couldn't sell, and it was, they were out all this money. That was my mother. I got all the expired makeup when I was little. But with Young Living, there is no crazy buy-in. You're not buying any stock to sell. Young Living ships everything. Anything that you order is for your family, which for me was like a really big thing. I didn't want to be like hustling oils out of my trunk. I didn't want to have to buy something that then I'd have to, resell, and I didn't want it and all of that. all the product I buy is for our family, and to talk about and to bless our family. So the other thing that's really cool is it's member based. So there's a couple companies out there where I have multiple friends selling the same thing, and I can't commit to who I'm buying from. So I want to buy my sunscreen from this lady, and I need it a couple months later, and I love this person. But because we have a membership based, your customer is your customer. So they can't bounce around to other people, which I think is really important when we're thinking about that residual income and counting on sales each month, is that the loyalty of the customers is really important to me. Also, just the how legit Young Living is. There are always new companies popping up here and there. Young Living is over 25 years old. It's funny to think that I was in kindergarten when they started, and so they've stood the test of time. Their comp plan has stood the test of time. There are many, many, many people in the high ranks who it's a stable comp plan. Let me just say that. I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritties, but that's like really important to me. Again, not going to go into more details, but how the comp plan and the structure of the business is really important to me. How many levels we get paid on. If you have more questions later, we can answer all the numbery stuff, or I'll point you to people who can, because I'm not good with the numbers. But I've had people explain it to me, and as I've kind of seen my own paychecks and seen things broke down, it's amazing to see that it really is a generous comp plan. And I didn't realize it, but not all companies are like that. And I think I have some more notes, but I've kind of touched on things here and there. So I'm gonna just throw it back to Jen for some more chatting.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely didn't want to be selling oils out of my trunk either. That was like a huge no-no for me. I would get like anxious thinking about, like, I don't like stuff laying around. So I love that, like, the only things that I buy are things for my family. Like, of course, I bless people with rollers, and I send rollers out for samples, and I'm able to, like, I have the gift of being able to gift my neighbors cleaner, because legit, one bottle of cleaner will last you your entire life, 6 months. So I have like all these cool things that I get to bless people with and share and use for my family. Like Kimberlee said, it's amazing. So the only thing you really need to do to run your own business is spend $100 a month. And that's 100 PV, so it's a point system, but it rounds out to be about $100 a month. And that's product that you are bringing in for your family, like Kimberlee said. So it's not product that you have to then go and sell. These are products that you're using. And our family, when I saw that 100, I was like, okay, well, now I have to spend an additional 100, but you're actually just transfer buying through a program with a customizable box that you customize every month. So it's not like you have to buy the same things every month. You're transfer buying whatever was in that box, whatever you put in that box, that you use that budget that you would have used to buy your sunscreen or buy your shampoo and conditioner or your makeup or your kids lotion or CBD oil. I mean, the list goes on of products that you can be buying and that you already buy. You transfer that budget and now you're putting into one box, and then you're able to get a paycheck. So Young Living has given us such a beautiful gift of not even having to do anything else, but just basically buy product for our family. And if you're like our family, we're spending way more than that anyway, because I literally change over everything in our home. And these are products that I genuinely can stand behind and I'm sharing about. Like, I don't have to worry about, is it weird that I'm sharing? I'm naturally sharing about these things anyway. On social media, I was sharing about this like bomb hair dryer thing. And like 3 people messaged me the next day. I was like, I just put that in my Amazon cart. Kimberlee sharing about her curly girl method, how she's curling her hair and it looks beautiful. And now she has people that are doing the same. And it's like this whole big process that she's walking people through on social media. And so with that being said, it's really fun to see like we're sharing anyway. So people are listening. So we're not being weird about it, where we're just like literally blasting out to everyone we know saying like, you must buy essential oils. We're just sharing. We're sharing about things that we eat, that we drink, a coffee that we like, And Monica was making a really cool, she said, I think in our last Zoom call, that like Krispy Kreme. I don't know, Monica, do you want to unmute yourself and share it so I don't butcher it? Raj?
Oh, when you were talking about like how Young Living doesn't pay for advertising, I mentioned about Krispy Kreme. Like everyone knows Krispy Kremes and loves them, and they have never ever paid for advertising. It's all by word of mouth. People who just love Krispy Kremes and tell their friends.
Yeah.
And it's like $1 billion company.
Yeah, and it's like Starbucks, the same thing. Like you don't see, I know like people, there's ads and stuff, but you don't have commercials on Starbucks. It's word of mouth. Everyone knows that Starbucks is a solid company, and that's just because it's good. It's amazing, right? Like their drinks are good, and guess what? Those are like really expensive drinks, and people are still drinking them every single day. And so I just think that like with Young Living, they're basically paying us to do that for people and just share about things. And when you invite somebody to your home, like if somebody likes your table, right? If they like even the plant that you have, if they like the sunscreen that you're using at the beach, you're gonna recommend it. I actually just had a friend who's on this call reach out to me right before the call and say, hey, what's that baby food maker that you use? I wanna order that for my sister. And we're just naturally sharing anyway. So it's really cool to naturally share and understand the structure of the business. Like Kimberlee said, this is not a get rich quick scheme. And I want to share, that I mean that from the bottom of my heart. You're not just going to say yes and all of a sudden you're going to, all this money's going to pop up. It is work and it's a lot of self-growth, but we are here to walk alongside you. And we have beautiful mentorships that you can go through, just like we have product education groups where you don't have to feel overwhelmed learning about clean living. You don't have to know everything about clean living. I'm still learning, Kimberlee's still learning, and I'm not like an oil guru at all. I'm actually extremely passionate about the business side of it. And I've always been passionate about clean living. So that's like a no-brainer for me, but you don't have to know everything about clean living before you start. Like you can learn as you go, and just like the business as well. I still don't understand all the numbers. Like Kimberlee was saying, she doesn't either. I have people on my team that know the numbers. And that's why making up like a team is so beautiful. And our motto is we rise by lifting others. So if you don't understand something, we're here to help you. We're here to jump on a call. We're here to direct you on how to figure that out. And our community is, it's beautiful between like graphics for classes and Zoom call hangouts, and you run your own business. And I want to be very clear on that. Just because I signed up with Kimberlee doesn't mean that I need to run my business as Kimberlee runs her business. I'm actually the one that wanted to do this. And I asked her like, hey, can you walk alongside me as I host this class, or if I host this Zoom call? Can you show me what you've done? She's been successful. So of course, duplication is key, but there's stuff that I have done in my business that she's never done before. And there's a lot of things that she's done and tried that I still haven't had the courage to do. And so I think it flip-flops back and forth. Just because Kimberlee's at a higher rank doesn't mean that I can't go and ask her to jump on this call with me. I have another girl on this call right now, Kristen. She started Facebook parties for our team, and it's been so beautiful to see. And guess what? Like Kristen actually signed up with me. So it doesn't matter where you are. It is not a pyramid scheme. Those are illegal. And so it is not that. It's actually just a beautiful community of people that are just helping and just rising as we help each other through this. And so I think we've been pretty thorough about what the business and our stories look like. Like Kimberlee said, I personally, for the first time in 2 years, my husband is making me a office. We live in a 3-bedroom home, and we're making our 3rd bedroom an office for me, because for the first time, I just want a space to work. But normally my day just looks like my phone in my hand, and I'm messaging people and I'm cultivating real relationships with them. I genuinely love people. And like I said earlier, and this is how I kind of want to leave this part of my story, is when I first started, I had a very hard time cultivating personal relationships because I personally felt broken and I felt like I wasn't worthy. And even right before this call, I said to my husband, like, I don't even want to get on here. Like, what do I even have to say that people are going to want to hear? And I even told my team the same thing. But you have a voice and you have a space, and you have a story, and your story is not only going to change people that are doing clean living and that want to learn more about clean living, it's actually going to change the lives of so many people that come after you. And if it wasn't for Kimberlee, I might have signed up with somebody else and been in a whole different situation. And so because she was vulnerable, and because I was attracted to her vulnerability and her mess, as she called it on Instagram, to me, that was appealing because I felt so broken. And I was like, if she can do it, and she's showing me that she's just juggling all the kids and married life and her relationship with the Lord, like I can do that too. And that's why I brought like my girls here. And that's why I have the team that I have, is because they were able to see that too, that, you know, even through the mess of everyday life, this is real life. Like you can legit get in an Uber and go get a snack, or you can feed your baby, or you can go outside and play, or you can work your other job. And Young Living has not only gave me that gift of time freedom, but you can also do other things that you're really passionate about, and kind of like weave that together. I just talked to a girl earlier that has a different business that she was interested in incorporating essential oils into that business. I just talked to somebody earlier today that she's a massage therapist, and she wants to put a diffuser in her store, and just share naturally about essential oils. And so it's really cool to be able to take what you're passionate, whether that's blogging or Instagram or an Etsy shop or other little side things that you're passionate about, and kind of cultivate it together. Or maybe you have a full-time job and this is not going to be your full-time gig. I have a lot of girls on my team like that, and that's okay too. But the cool part is, whether this is your full-time job and you're fully committed, or this is a side hustle, you can be your own boss. And whether that's a side hustle or a full-time job, it's beautiful because you get to dictate when you want to work and when you want to put your phone down. And so I just kind of want to leave it as that. And like, you know, we were saying before, we have such a beautiful community where we can walk beside you, and this business can look like whatever it is for you. You can grow on social media. You can have all of your family members support you. You get to do it with your friends, and you get to cultivate relationships as you do it. So yeah, I think we're good. Do you need to say anything else, Kimberlee, or?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think that, our hope tonight was to just give you, again, just like a big picture of dreaming of the possibility that it could be for you, to be vulnerable and share our stories and the places that we came from and kind of where we are. And I just want to say too, because I think that sometimes after hearing like, you know, anyone's inspirational story, you just kind of feel like, oh, well, now they've got it made. I and Jen, like, I mean, gosh, I sent Jen a Vox the other day with some other girls and was just like, gosh, I'm like drowning. I'm losing it with my kids. I like need you guys to pray for me, which is really a beautiful part of this business as well. Like the community aspect. I think we've kind of touched on that a little bit. But just because I have been able to build a business through Young Living that has not made me, you know, someone that is disconnected from reality, or I still have struggles. I'm still trying to figure all of this out along with everyone else. And so I guess like our heart is just to bring people along with us as we are just pursuing whatever that looks for us: time freedom, money freedom, community. There's just so many things that this business can be for you, and it is hard work, and it is something that that you have to show up for and decide to do. Like no one is going to make you do it, but at the same time, no one's going to make you do it. Like you get to decide. So there's a lot of freedom and beauty in that. So anyway, I said I didn't have anything more to say, but then I just pulled a little speech out of my pocket. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have any questions? You can either unmute yourself or type them in the box. I know it can get really, a little bit awkward if no one has any questions. So there's no pressure, but if you have questions, this is a space to ask it. And Jen and I are open books, honestly.
So when you joined, you didn't join by yourself. You automatically joined on a team, like to help you build your clientele and to help you along the way?
Yeah. So when you when you join Young Living, everyone starts off by getting a starter kit. So when you buy a starter kit, you are either you join with they call it like a sponsor, someone like sponsors you, kind of like become a part of that team. Or if you choose not to join with a sponsor, Young Living will assign you someone, because they really want you to be able to be a part of a community and really be a part of a team that will educate you. So you're basically either plugged onto a team, or you choose, hey, I want to be in this with Jen and she's my person. And it's really a beautiful thing. So everyone starts out by getting a starter kit, whether you're doing the business or not, and there really isn't a difference between those. So I know that's like another thing. Some network marketing companies will say, oh, to be a business builder, you have to like do this buy-in to, use the product. You have to have this type of membership. With Young Living, everyone has the same. So if you just buy a starter kit, you have the freedom to share, or you have the freedom to never buy anything ever again. So I don't know if that answers your question fully.
Yeah, and you signed up with Kristen, right? Yeah. So so you would be in Kristen's team, which Kristen is my team, and my team is Kimberlee's team. So we're kind of like all together. And just like we have product education groups where you're in, where you get to learn about the oils and learn about clean living. And we have like our fun community, like on the 15th, we meet together and share. We also do that on the business side. So we have just business groups, and Kimberlee leads a business group that you would be invited to. I lead a business group that you would be invited to. And Kristen's there to like, as your direct upline, to help support you and walk you through certain questions that you have as well. And so it's beautiful because we have this whole community of girls that come together, and we have the graphics and the classes, and the same graphics and classes that Kimberlee and I are using and Kristen's using, you get to use those as well. And the beauty is you can actually tweak that if you want to make it your own, without spending too much time trying to recreate the wheel. So I hope that gives you a better. Cool. Thanks for being bold and asking a question.
Kristen, you asked if we can share how we got our very first enrollment. Do you mean me or Jen?
Both of you.
Both of us. Okay, so my very first enrollment, and when we say enrollment, it's really people who buy their starter kits underneath of you. So my very first enrollment, actually, I don't know if you know this, Jen, was actually my friend Courtney. I squeaked out my very scared yes to my friend Emily and was like, I'll do this. And then I just immediately called up my friend Courtney. She's like my BFF that lives on the other side of the country. She's a foster adopt mama. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I've seen the paychecks of these friends, like very real people. They're going like to lay on these sandy beaches together. Like, this is my dream for us. Look what we could do. Like, please come do this crazy thing with me. So she was actually my first enrollment, and she decided to do the business with me. And then after that, just kind of was a snowball of me just sharing with people and them deciding that they too wanted to get starter kits.
So mine was actually Tiffany, who's here, I think, okay? Because in the beginning, I was like straight up hustling. Like, I invited everyone I knew to this class, and I was like, I don't even know how to like work these Google Docs. And like, instead of asking, because I was so timid and scared, I was like, I'm just gonna go into Facebook and show everyone how I could use essential oils. And I just got my kit, and I was like, hey guys, you use lemon in your water, and you use thieves on your ear. I didn't know what I was doing, but my energy, I think, was attractive to Tiffany. Maybe she felt bad for me, but she's been on Essential Rewards, buying from me for over through Young Living, but been on my team for 2 years. And now she does the business as well, which is really fun. She's a dietitian. And I was like, you need to join Essential Rewards and get this box. And by the grace of her heart, she did it. And it was funny because I actually, in the beginning, I didn't really understand. I didn't take the time to understand the structure of the business because, like Kimberlee, I was like, whoa, that's an MLM. Like, I'm just going to get all of my oils paid for and make a lot of money by just selling kits. And if you guys, I don't know if we said this, but if you are on Essential Rewards and you are switching and ditching your home and transfer buying, and you refer a friend, and they, everyone has a special link. Once you are a member and you share that link with them and they do snag a starter kit, you will get a $50 check in the mail. And then on top of that, as you start growing your business, you also get commissions. So not only now, I'm not just getting the $50 from every starter kit that I sell or share. I'm actually getting commissions as well, but I have people that are just casually sharing and just making enough to pay for their oils every month. So that was my goal in the beginning, and then it just kind of took off. And then I started understanding that sharing is caring and community is everything. And then I started growing my actual team, which is cool. So I do have a question here. Okay, this is a really good question. On the business side, is there a set amount of people that you need to sign up or enroll to rank?
You gonna answer that, or am I?
Okay, I'll start off by saying that you never have to maintain in order to do the business. So say you decide you want to do the business and you are like, hey, I want to dip my toe in and see what it's all about. And we invite you to a Zoom call and you're part of our community. That's all. If you're spending 100 PV on Essential Rewards, you are invited to our Zoom calls, to our chats. We have a Voxer group that you can join. I do fun little incentives for my team. And then whoever you signed up with does, depending on how they run their team, does the same thing. If you don't sell a kit that month, you are not kicked out. This is not Mean Girls. You can always sit at our table and learn and share, which I think is really fun. As far as enrolling to rank,
yeah, I feel like that's a kind of a complicated question, just because I don't want to overcomplicate this call on I feel like I kind of need some charts and to kind of show you guys how some of the structure works, because it's not always a set amount of enrollments. A lot of it has to just do with overall volume that your team brings in. So there have been months where I have enrolled quite a few people, and then there's been some months that I have enrolled very few people. But it wasn't really dependent on my personal enrollments to make rank. Now in the beginning it was all on me because I didn't have a team, but as you go on, that's one of the most beautiful things about building a team is that that it's the overall volume of your organization, and it's not just enrollments. It's helping people to get on Essential Rewards where they're able to just switch over the products in their home, and so they're on a monthly ordering basis, and really helping them customize their orders and make their home more of a safe place. And the one-time orders, all of those, both enrollments, Essential Rewards, and then someone just snagging an extra bottle of lavender, all of those go towards the volume within your team to help you rank. And I'm so happy to write it all out and show you guys how the structure works, but I also just don't want to make it confusing on this call and make you guys your head spinning with information that's not I don't know. Does that kind of answer that question, Jen? Would you have anything to add to that?
That was great. And I think like Kimberlee said, once we can walk alongside you and help you, because every situation, like she said, is different and whatever, but you gave a really good overview of what and broke that down. Yeah.
Cool.
I feel is everyone cool? Yeah, and we are here to answer any questions. You can reach out to us anytime. Yeah, and it was really fun. So thank you guys again for coming. Sorry, I have somebody private asking me a question. Okay, they're just gonna. Yeah, so I'm just gonna actually stop the recording now, and yeah, you can. They want to know too if we can reach out or how we can find what's the best place to reach out to people. Yeah, you can if you have our numbers, you can text us. We're also on social media. I will pop in if you want to do the same. But if you signed up with somebody that is here tonight, or if you are a member already, I would reach out to your direct upline. That's the person that you enrolled with, that you got your kit from. And I think that, they can kind of help you and direct you. But if you were on this call, it was somebody from our team, or you're not a member yet, and we can help set that up for you. So, Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you girls so much for coming. And Guy, thanks Darren. Love ya.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you for your time.